Right, the international break wrapped up, and suddenly everything around Celtic feels like it's shifting into high gear, as if the whole club knows we're stepping into a spell that's going to test every ounce of strength in the squad. There's no gentle easing back into domestic football this time. We're staring straight at a stretch of matches that pile up one after another, barely leaving enough room for the players to draw breath before they're flung into the next battle. It's the kind of run that can define a season, shape the mood in the stands and inside Lennoxtown, and remind every supporter why following Celtic is never dull. From this weekend's clash with St Mirren all the way until that next international window in late March, it's almost like the club's been handed a schedule designed to see who can really keep pace. No winter pause, no wee reset, just a relentless drumbeat of fixtures. And while supporters absolutely love nights under the lights, afternoons filled with chants, and the thrill of a constant football, you can't help but look at the squad sheet and realize that this group is going to be pushed right to its limits. Injuries don't heal faster just because the calendar gets tighter, and the depth of the squad isn't magically going to double overnight. Still, there's something exciting about it. The players know what's coming, the staff know what's coming, and even with all the uncertainty surrounding the managerial transition, there's this feeling that everyone needs to buckle in and get on with it. Whoever's in the dugout come the next few weeks, the team can't afford to lose momentum. They've got to treat every match as a moment to keep the rhythm alive, even with half the squad patched up, taped up, or nursing knocks they picked up here and there. And the injuries are stacking up in a way that makes you wince. When you start listing them, you realize how many key players are stuck watching from the treatment room. The long-term ones are the hardest to swallow, especially the lads who won't be back until next year or even beyond that. When a player's recovery is spoken about in terms of seasons rather than weeks, it hits differently. And then you've got the ones who are somewhere in the middle, not out for the year, but nowhere near ready for the weekend either. Every time you think the list is shrinking, another name slips onto it. The defenders, especially, are taking the brunt of it, and that puts the younger boys and the fringe lads in a position where they really need to step up. It's one thing to come on for the last few minutes of a comfortable win. It's another to be thrown straight into the starting 11 during the busiest run of the season. Suddenly, players who've barely had a full match under their belt are being asked to deliver steady performances every few days. You look at the midfield as well, and you can almost sense the responsibility shifting toward those who've been waiting for a proper chance. There's opportunity there, but there's pressure too, the kind that can either make a player or expose how raw they still are. And as if that wasn't enough to think about, the international break brought its own headaches. A stretcher here, a limping substitution there, and suddenly, Celtic have two more names to juggle. It's the sort of thing that makes supporters curse international weeks, even when the national teams are doing well. There's always that dread that someone will go away perfectly fit and come back needing scans and rest instead of training. The only relief this time is that one or two of those injuries weren't as bad as first feared, though you could sense the worry the moment the photos started making the rounds. But one of the biggest talking points right now is Callum Osman's situation. Seeing him on crutches after everything he'd been building toward this season, it's a punch to the gut for a young player to hit such a high, scoring a massive goal in such a big match, and then be struck down by a serious hamstring tear days later. It's cruel in a way football often is. You can tell he's desperate to get back, though. The work he's putting in, the treatments he's chasing, all show a player who isn't willing to sit around feeling sorry for himself, and Celtic will need him later in the campaign, no question about that. Then there's that lift that came from Kieran Tierney's heroics for Scotland. Moments like that don't just stay with the national side. They follow the player right back to the club. You could see in his face that the goal meant more than just helping Scotland qualify. It was the kind of strike that stays in the memory, both for the quality of it and the timing. And now he walks back into Lennoxtown with that buzz still humming around him. You can almost imagine the wee exchange with Schmeichel, the sort of moment teammates share when their countries collide in matches that truly matter. Whether they joke or keep it quiet, it's bound to be a strange reunion. And look, with some defenders out for the weekend, there's every chance Tierney gets thrown straight into the mix. It might be exactly what he needs to ride that wave of confidence into Saturday night and set the tone for this whole congested run. For supporters, it's a comfort seeing someone return from the national side, not battered and bruised, but soaring after a proper career moment. Meanwhile, around the club, there's this hum of tension that's not just about football. Some off-the-pitch issues between groups in the stands and the board are bubbling away again, and while nobody wants that to overshadow the football, it's impossible to pretend it isn't happening. Add to that the silence surrounding the managerial situation, and supporters are left trying to piece together what's going on as the days tick by. Everything points toward the expected name, but if it's so certain, why isn't it official yet? And then you hear whispers about backroom demands, and suddenly it feels like déjà vu of a situation the club's lived through before. It's not identical, but it has echoes. And with the AGM right around the corner, you can feel that something's going to give. There are always questions raised, always discussions that spill out afterward. And this time there's more than enough fuel for folk to pick apart. Whatever is said there, whatever hints or reassurances come out, it's going to shape the mood of supporters just as much as Saturday's result will. As the squad trickles back into Lennoxtown after their international duties, there's always that wee moment of uncertainty where you try to judge the mood. Some lads come back, energized, buzzing off big wins, important goals, or personal milestones. Others return quieter, maybe carrying knocks, maybe disappointed by how their national side fared, maybe just tired from all the traveling. And the staff need to weave all that together and turn it into something stable, something sharp, something ready for the domestic fight ahead. It's one of the underappreciated parts of this job, the human side of football that supporters don't always see. When the fixtures pile up this quickly, managing emotion becomes just as important as managing tactics. And with the number of injuries cluttering up the treatment rooms, the coaches are having to get creative about who trains with who needs minutes, who needs rest, and who simply needs to be pulled aside and reminded that this is their moment to shine. It's been a strange season in that sense because players who were expected to be regulars have barely been seen, while others who were still trying to find their footing at the club suddenly find themselves in the thick of it. The squad feels stretched, but even more than that, it feels like we're entering that period where character matters as much as talent. There's a lot resting on players who haven't had long runs of games yet. You can picture the conversations happening behind closed doors where the staff try to make sure the young lads understand the responsibility without overwhelming them. It's a tough balance. On one side, the club needs them to step up. On the other, you don't want to burden them to the point that they play with fear instead of freedom. The atmosphere at Celtic is massive. And stepping into the starting 11 under these circumstances isn't just about having ability, it's about having the nerve to handle the weight of the shirt. Some of them will rise to it, some might struggle, that's football, but what matters most is that the squad sticks together through this run because the fixture list won't show mercy. Matches every few days will pick off any weak spots, fatigue will creep in, muscles will tighten, and every wee mistake will feel like it carries double the consequence. That's why the supporters need to stay right behind the team during this stretch. The boys on the pitch can feel that energy. They know when the crowd believes in them, especially in the moments where things start to get tricky, and then there's the managerial cloud hanging over everything. The uncertainty lingers, not loud enough to drown out the week-to-week football, but present enough that everyone feels it. The players will be wondering how long this situation lasts. The interim staff are doing their best to keep things smooth, but there's only so long a club like Celtic can operate without full clarity. You'd imagine the board are working away behind the scenes, trying to finalize whatever needs finalizing. But until pen meets paper and a new face stands in front of the cameras, the questions will keep floating about. The backroom team issue is the one folk keep whispering about, and it's understandable because that can genuinely cause delays. Managers want people they trust beside them, and clubs want setups that fit their long-term plans. When those needs clash, everything slows down, but the timing of this run makes the wait feel longer. Supporters want direction, players want certainty, and the interim structure wants to know how long they're steering the ship. Every day without news just adds to that buzz of speculation. In the meantime, though, the football doesn't stop. Training sessions this week will be crucial, not just for fitness, but for shaping the mentality going into the weekend. There's something special about returning to league action under the lights after a break. The crowd comes back hungry. There's that familiar thrum of noise building even before kickoff. And if the team starts fast, the stadium becomes electric. The sort of atmosphere that can carry Celtic through the rough patches that are inevitable over the next few months. If players like Tierney bring that international confidence into the match, it could set the tone early on. You can almost sense that he's itching to kick on from that goal, and with some defenders missing, there's a fair chance he'll have a big role. The team needs leaders right now, and not just the senior ones. Even the younger lads need to show a bit of grit, a bit of presence. This isn't the time to hide. It's the time to take the game by the scruff of the neck and give supporters something to believe in. But there's another layer to all this. The off-the-pitch tension brewing between certain sections of the support and the club. It's the kind of thing nobody really wants overshadowing the football, and yet it slips into the narrative. Whether people like it or not, disputes like these never resolve overnight. And when the team is already under pressure from injuries, fixtures, and transition, the last thing anyone wants is unrest in the stands. Still, these things have a way of resurfacing whenever other parts of the club feel unsettled. It's like everything is connected, even when it isn't meant to be. The AGM looming over the horizon only adds more layers, and supporters expect answers, clarity, maybe even a bit of direction. And you can bet there will be voices in that room pushing for explanations about the squad planning, the managerial search, the long-term strategy, all the stuff that tends to simmer quietly until a moment like this forces it into the open. Whatever is said there, it'll ripple through the support immediately. That's always how it goes. Changes in football aren't always made on the pitch. Sometimes the tone shifts because of what happens in a meeting room, yet for all the noise, all the uncertainty, all the questions, there's still that flicker of excitement. A busy schedule means big opportunities. A stretched squad means surprise heroes can emerge. A new manager coming in means players get the clean slate they crave, and the supporters, even with all the frustration, know that Celtic have a way of finding momentum when it looks like the odds are stacking up. If the team can grab a result this weekend and build from there, suddenly everything feels lighter. Suddenly, the run of matches looks like a chance to climb, to push, to remind the league that Celtic don't fade just because the fixtures get messy. It starts with one performance, one spark, one bit of magic that shifts the mood from anxious to inspired, and for all the challenges ahead. The truth is simple. This is where seasons are shaped. This is where squads discover what they're made of, and this is where supporters, tired or not, rise the loudest. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Whispers are swirling Rund Govan and the East End this morning as talk of a simmering feud between Rangers and Celtic has burst back to the surface. Word drifting through the corridors of Scottish Fitba says the Ibrox board are quietly steaming, claiming that certain league decisions had tilted the balance in ways they're no prepared to let slide. Sources close to the club hint that senior figures feel a line has been crossed and that the pattern of recent call-making deserves more than a raised eyebrow. Folk familiar with the chatter say Rangers have been speaking in low voices behind closed doors, gathering notes, clips, and conversations, each piece fueling the belief that something's no quite right at the heart of league governance. The rumour mill insists they've already put forward a push for a formal look-in for the authorities, hoping for clarity, transparency, or at the very least a spotlight pointed in the right direction. Across the city, the Celtic side of the fence seems less than impressed by the noise. Parkhead insiders whisper that this is no more than mind games, an attempt to stir the pot and unsettle the wider narrative. Some even mutter that this is part of an old pattern. When tension rises, accusations follow, but others quietly acknowledge that the rivalry thrives on exactly this kind of thundercloud. Heavy, dramatic, and full of the unknown. Supporters on both sides had taken the murmurs and run with them. Down pubs, on buses, across forums, every wee hint gets magnified until it becomes a full-blown theory. Even neutrals are getting drawn in, wondering which spark lit this latest blaze between the giants. Whether the league chooses to lift the lid or leave the pot boiling is still up in the air, but the city feels charged, as if something bigger is rattling beneath the surface. In Glasgow, football rarely stays quiet for long, and this latest whisper has already grown into a roar. Hello, fan, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.